Okay guys, so in this video we're going to be covering financing activities, right? So under financing activities we have what is known as proceeds from shares issued, right? And then we have what is known as the repurchase. Then we have what is known as change in loans, right? So what is your proceeds from shares issued? Proceeds from shares issued is the additional shares that we issued during the year. So therefore, in order for you to calculate your proceeds from shares issued, go always guys go to your ordinary share capital, right? So proceeds from shares issued will always be your inflow. Why am I saying that? Because we issued shares and then shareholders buy those shares and they give us money, right? So therefore that's an inflow of money. But repurchase shares is like we as the company are buying back our shares from a certain shareholder. So we're taking money and giving money to the shareholder, and the shareholder give us back our share, right? So therefore that's a what? An outflow, right? And then we have change in loans. So change in loans is like this: an increase in loans will always be a what? An outflow. Because what? No, an increase in loans will always be a what? An inflow, because our loans increase, so therefore they gave us money, right? For example, your loans in 2021 was 20, now in 2022 is what? 50. So therefore an increase in loan will result in what? Us receiving the benefit of the loan, meaning which is 30. So therefore this 30 is our what? Our inflow, right? So a decrease in loan, the loan decreased from 30 to 20. What happened? It means that we as the company, we repaid our loan, because our loan was 30, now it reduced to 20. So therefore we paid how much? 10 rand. So therefore that's an outflow of money. So when it comes to loan, please interpret it guys. And another thing guys, make sure that's how you like, let me teach you guys how we get marks, right guys? In this case, you know, calculating proceeds from shares issued it's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a lot of work. Calculating your repurchases will be work. But for the fact that you know how to interpret loans, changes in loans, changes in fixed deposits, such things, those changes, make sure you get them correct, because those marks you're going to need them, right? But let's forget about that now. So when we're dealing with proceeds from shares issued, we're focusing on what? The additional shares that were issued during the year, right? Now always guys, when you're doing proceeds from shares issued, you focus on your what? Your ordinary share capital note, right? Your ordinary share capital note, it's like this. So we're having number of shares, and here we're having what? Amount, right? So here is the what? Balance at the beginning, and then here we're having additional shares issued. Here we're having our repurchases, and then we're having balance at the end, right? So our shares at the beginning are the ones that are issued, right? And guys, don't mistake in this: authorized shares are shares that are not issued. Let's say they can say the company authorized 70,000 shares, meaning this is what the company can give in terms of their shares for this current financial period. So it does not mean that these 70,000 shares have been issued. No, they're just authorized. And if they're saying 70% of the authorized shares have been issued, it means you're going to say 70,000 multiplied by 70%. So therefore the 70% will be your what? Your shares issued at the beginning of the year, right? Which is gonna be what? 49,000. So therefore these are the shares issued at the beginning of the year. So don't confuse authorized shares with issued shares, right guys? So let's leave these columns here. Okay, so let's go read the information here. So having that information relates to Anchor Ltd for the financial year ended 28 February, right? So complete the financing activities, right? So therefore, this is our current financial period, 2021, and then last year is 2020, right? So we have our ordinary share capital, which is 6,874,000, and here which is 7,837,500, right? So therefore, there was an increase in shares, right? Sure. So they're saying that the authorized share capital is 1,200,000. So this is what the company can offer in terms of shares, right? So on the 1st of March 2020, meaning at the beginning of the year, the company issued 70% of the authorized shares. So therefore, I'm gonna say my 1,200,000 multiplied by what? 70% gives me my what? My shares issued at the beginning of the year. So I'm having 840,000, right, as additional shares, right? So I'm having my 840,000 shares at the beginning of the year, right? And then what about it? What about amount? In this case, guys, they didn't give me the price. So if they gave me the price, for what price did they issue it, I was gonna say this amount multiplied by a particular price. But in this case, they did not give me a share price, but it means we're going to take this amount because it's like shares multiplied by price will give me this amount. So in this case, they gave me this amount. So don't panic, right? So 6,874, 6,874,000, right? This is the shares and this is the amount. So therefore, if you want to look for the price, you can say this amount divided by this amount. You're gonna get what? Your price, like at what price were these shares issued, right? And then they're saying that on 1 July, meaning during the year, 160,000 shares were issued. So I'm gonna come here and say 160,000 shares were issued, right? At what price? They did not give me the price. So therefore, guys, if they don't give you prices, it means somewhere somehow they are balancing figures, right? They are balancing figures. So in this case, I'm having my what? Let's go to another information. They're saying on 28 February 2021, 50,000 shares were bought back at what? 1,15 above the average share price, right? So therefore, this information is very important. Above the average share price. Now, I'll show you now. So therefore, we bought back our shares of what? 50,000. So therefore, buyback reduces the value of the issued shares, meaning I issue 2 rand shares, like the value of 2, like I issue 2 shares at the beginning, I issue another 2 shares, right? So therefore, this is an increase in the what number of shares issued. Now when I'm buying back those shares, I'm reducing the value of the shares that are issued, right? By how much now? 50,000. Right now, what is the balance at the end? What is the total shares that are issued at the end of the year? I will say my 840,000 plus my 160,000 minus my 50,000. Those are what? Those are my shares, total shares issued at the end of the year, which is 950,000. Right now, do I have this amount? Yes, I do. How? They gave me here, which is what? 7,837. 7,837,500. Yes, let me confirm. Yes. So I'm how did I get my shares at the end? You see, I calculated using the shares that were given to me. And then how did I get this one? This one was already, these 2 amounts were already given to me. So guys, in this case, if ever you see yourself not seeing shares issued but you don't know at what prices, go to the trial balance under ordinary share capital. These 2 amounts, they'll either give you at the beginning and at the end. You just have to substitute them here. And then now, how are you gonna go back? Remember, guys, they said that we repurchase shares at what? Above the average price, right? So meaning above the average price, it simply means that you're gonna go at the end of your shares, like balance at the end, you're gonna say 7,837,500 divide by what, 950, you're gonna get your repurchase price. Always guys, if they say above the average price, you just go at the end here and take this amount and divide this amount, then you're getting your share price. So you're gonna say your 7,837,500 divided by 950. So what is your price? Your share price is 8,25. So therefore R 8,25. So therefore you multiply it by 50,000 shares. So therefore your shares is what, 412,500. Right now, how do you get your original shares? You say this is minus, right? Remember, don't forget. So how do you get these ones? You're gonna say this amount plus this amount minus this amount, you're getting these. So 7,837,500 plus 412,500 minus 6,874. Therefore that's your what, shares issued, which is 1,376,223. right? So therefore you're gonna come here, remember these are the shares that we issued, right? The value of the shares too. So we received this amount after selling these shares. So I'm gonna say 1,376. That's my proceeds from shares issued, right? Now what is my repurchase? Some might say this is my repurchase. No, that's not your repurchase. Your repurchase, remember, they say that shares were issued above the average price, so you have to take this into account, right? You're gonna come here and say, so therefore this is my repurchase price, right? So I'm gonna say 412,500, right, plus the value that was bought above. Remember, we bought above by how much? 1,15, right? 1,15. So you're gonna say 1,15 multiplied by 50,000. Therefore you're gonna get your what, your above part of the shares that were issued, which is 50,000 multiplied by 1,15, which is what, 57,500. So 57,500 will be my total repurchases. Remember, I took this amount, right, and then I'm gonna add it together with the above part, which gives me what my total repurchases. So 412,500 plus 57,500, 57,500. So I'm gonna select my what, 470,000. So therefore guys, my 470,000 is coming here as a negative 470,000, right? So there's this cash flow triangle, guys. There's this cash flow triangle that talks about above share prices, what goes into the cash flow in terms of repurchases and things. So guys, since here I'm doing just cash flows, not touching shares like in detail, if you guys want me to do a video for shares explaining what's going on, how do you calculate your whatsoever, or any chapter that you're struggling with, comment down below. Like, just comment the chapter, I'll do the chapter, release the video, guys. Yeah. So now here we are focusing on our what now, we're doing our loan, right? So let's look at our loan here. Our loan decreased, right? So decreased from 1,388,000 to 988,000. So 1,388 minus 988. So therefore 400,000 was repaid by the company. So therefore a decrease in loan is an outflow of cash. So therefore we have an outflow of 400,000. So therefore that's our financing activities, right? So therefore these are our financing activities, guys. If you want a video for a particular chapter that you're struggling with, please comment down below, guys, and don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you, guys.